Chosen one. Even the gods themselves are panicking at what you just did. You didn't knock on the door of heaven. You tore the veil wide open and walked straight to the throne. The shockwave is still rippling through every dimension. What has been uncovered about you in these last weeks is beyond staggering. It is the single most shattering revelation in the recorded history of existence. Holy researchers, archaeologists of the impossible, and treasure hunters who have spent lifetimes chasing shadows have all reached the same inescapable conclusion at the exact same moment. Every myth ever whispered around dying fires, every philosophy carved into stone, every ancient writing attributed to gods, angels, or primordial intelligences, every sacred artifact hidden in the deepest vaults of the earth. They do not merely hint at you. They scream your name across time. Your body is no longer obeying the laws that govern mortal flesh. Aging has not simply slowed. It has reversed, then halted, then vanished entirely, as if the concept itself looked at you and surrendered. Medical teams from the most advanced laboratories on the planet stand in silent circles around their screens, watching cellular regeneration rates that break every known mathematical model. Some of them have begun to weep without understanding why. Others have quietly resigned, saying science no longer feels relevant in your presence. They have seen timestamps in your DNA that predate the formation of the planet. They have seen energy signatures that match descriptions found only in the oldest forbidden texts, texts that were never meant to be read by human eyes. And your actions, every single one, no matter how small, align with prophecies written by hands that no longer have names. You appear in the lost books that were removed from every canon. You appear in the forbidden verses that were scratched out with fire. You appear in the earliest star maps drawn before language existed. You appear in the dreams of children who have never been taught to dream. World leaders have stopped pretending. Intelligence agencies have stopped redacting. The most powerful people on Earth have gathered in closed sessions and spoken the same sentence, some in terror, some in reverence. We are looking at the new God rising in this era. Before we descend further into the abyss of this truth, pause with me. If this message is piercing your soul right now, prove you are awake. Hit the like button so hard the algorithm trembles. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because we are racing toward 30,000 subscribers before the next revelation drops. And in the comments, write the number 1111. 11 for alignment, 11 for the gateway you just opened. This is how you anchor yourself to what is coming. Now breathe, and let us go deeper. The world has never seen, never imagined, never been prepared for what is unfolding. From the first spark of consciousness in the mind of the earliest human to the final encrypted prophecy locked away in black site vaults, every thread of fate has been pulling toward this one moment, this one being, you. The awakening did not announce itself with trumpets. It began as a tremor so subtle that only the most sensitive souls felt it first, an inexplicable quickening in the chest, a sudden clarity in the air, a sensation that reality itself had inhaled and forgotten to exhale. Then the tremor became a pulse. Then the pulse became a roar that shattered centuries of illusion. Those who were present at the first undeniable signs speak of it in the same hushed, broken tones people once reserved for near-death experiences. They describe a light that had no source, a silence that swallowed every other sound, a presence that bent space the way gravity bends starlight. They say their knees gave out not from fear, but from recognition, as if every cell in their body suddenly remembered something it had been forced to forget at birth. Legends spoke of a figure who would weave together every broken strand of history, myth, and divine intention. But legends are pale, trembling things compared to the living inferno now walking the earth. This was not the gentle return of a savior or the triumphant second coming written in any single book. This was a collision violent enough to crack the foundations of reality itself. Scholars fell screaming to the floors of ancient libraries as the meaning of texts they had studied for decades rewrote itself in real time before their eyes. Mystics who had spent lifetimes in silence opened their mouths and spoke in languages that died before Babylon rose. Even the most cynical minds, hardened scientists, jaded intelligence operatives, Billionaire skeptics who measured truth only in profit felt something ancient stir inside their chest and refused to be ignored. The awakening rolled across the planet like a wave of living fire. In hidden monasteries perched on impossible cliffs, bells began ringing by themselves. In forgotten desert temples, sand that had not moved for 4,000 years formed perfect circles overnight. In the middle of crowded cities, strangers locked eyes on subway platforms and began weeping without knowing why. Something had returned that had been written out of history on purpose, because history was not ready. And the gods, those ancient, arrogant, untouchable architects of worlds, felt it first and felt it worst. In realms that have no coordinates, in councils that predate the concept of light, panic spread like plague. Beings who had not moved in eons stood up from thrones carved out of dying stars. Names that have never been spoken aloud on earth were shouted in terror. Because every contingency, every prophecy, every backup plan the gods had engineered across billions of years suddenly revealed its fatal flaw. None of them had accounted for you being this much. You exceeded the final prophecy. You broke the last safeguard. You walked past the outermost seal like it was made of smoke. They watched you manipulate raw elements with a thought. They watched you fold time the way a child folds paper. They watched you speak a single word and watched entire bloodlines of divine law collapse like sandcastles. And for the first time in eternity, immortal mouths formed the same sentence, trembling. We are no longer the highest power. Some gods tried to flee. There is nowhere to flee to. Some tried to bargain. You were not listening. Some fell to their knees, not in worship, but in recognition that worship itself had just become obsolete. Down here on Earth, the panic of the heavens leaked through the cracks. Earthquakes with no tectonic cause. Skies turning colors that have no names. Children drawing symbols in crayon that match glyphs found only on the other side of reality. Animals bowing in the presence of a human who radiates something the animal kingdom recognized long before we forgot how to. Then the artifacts began to activate. One by one, then all at once. A jade disc in China that had been silent for 12,000 years began spinning on its own axis and projecting star maps of constellations that will not exist for another 100 million years. An obsidian mirror in a Mexican pyramid showed not the reflection of the archaeologist standing before it, but your face, exactly as you look right now, centuries before you were born. A crystal skull in a private collection in Switzerland began singing in a voice that caused every listener within a 5-mile radius to remember lifetimes they had never lived. A golden tablet in a Himalayan cave lit up from within and rearranged its own engravings to spell out your name in a script that predates cuneiform by 500,000 years. Every sacred object humanity ever locked away because it was too dangerous woke up and pointed in the same direction. Toward you. Treasure hunters who found these things did not celebrate. They fell to their knees and sobbed. Because they understood. They were not discovering relics. The relics had been waiting, patient as mountains, for the one person worthy of carrying them. And that person had finally arrived. Holy scholars who had spent their lives guarding these secrets did something no one expected. They opened the vaults. Willingly. Joyfully. Tears streaming down their faces. They carried out objects that had not seen daylight since the fall of Atlantis and laid them at your feet, whispering the same phrase in 100 dead languages. We kept them warm for you. And the texts, God, the texts. Every scripture, every apocrypha, every banned gospel, every scroll that was burned and survived only in oral memory, they all rearranged themselves in the presence of scholars who dared to look. Verses that had been gibberish for millennia suddenly read like news reports written yesterday. Prophecies that were sealed with 7 divine locks clicked open and unfolded like flowers in fast forward. Lines that had been interpreted as metaphor for thousands of years turned out to be literal coordinates. Dates. Descriptions of physical characteristics that match security footage from last week. One by one, the world's most revered religious leaders, figures who have never agreed on anything, stood before cameras and said the same thing, some smiling, some weeping, some pale with shock. The awaited one is no longer coming. The awaited one is already here. And we were not ready. Your body continues its impossible metamorphosis. Doctors watch in real time as your DNA rewrites itself into patterns that look more like sacred geometry than biology. Your heartbeat occasionally syncs with the Schumann resonance of the planet itself. When you breathe in, auroras appear in places there should be no auroras. When you sleep, if what you do can still be called sleep, entire continents report collective dreams of a golden figure walking across water that has not existed for 10,000 years. People in your presence heal without being touched. Terminal patients stand up from wheelchairs and walk away laughing. Blind eyes see colors that science has not discovered yet. Deaf ears hear music coming from inside stones. And you have not even begun to reveal what you are truly capable of, because the final phase has not arrived yet. The phase the ancient texts only dare describe in riddles. The phase the gods tried to prevent by erasing themselves from certain timelines. The phase where you stop ascending and start remembering who you were before the universe needed to forget. You are not becoming a god. You are the reason the concept of God was invented in the first place, a placeholder, a crude stick figure drawing made by children who glimpsed the shadow of your footprint and tried to describe the sun. Every myth was a cry for help. Every prophecy was a love letter. Every relic was a breadcrumb. Every miracle ever recorded was a postcard that read, "See you soon." And now you are here. The age of proxies is over. The age of middlemen, of interpreters, of institutions that claim to speak for the divine. All of it collapses like a house of cards in the hurricane of your presence. The veil is not thinning. The veil is gone. And on the other side stood you, waiting for yourself to catch up. Look around. The gods are silent now. They have nothing left to say. The scholars have closed their books. The pages are blank. The story is no longer written. It is being lived. The artifacts have gone quiet. Their job is done. They delivered you to yourself. And humanity, poor, beautiful, terrified, ecstatic humanity, stands on the edge of a cliff made of its own history and stares into the abyss of what comes next. There is only one question left. Only one that matters. Only one that every atom in creation is screaming at you right now with everything it has. Chosen one, what do you remember? Because when you remember, everything ends. And everything, truly, begins.